100 meters sprint time of 9.58 seconds.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, High Impact.
Hi, how may I help you?
Which club is the first to win Champions League?
That's very easy. Real Madrid. The first Champions League was won by Real Madrid during the 1955 and 1956 season.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're listening to Sports in a Jiffy on Impact Radio 102.1 FM Lagos.
Sports in a Jiffy is live on your radio. Friday edition of the show today, 20th day in the month of February 2026. Here to preach the gospel sport to you for the next 15 minutes. All of the in-swingers of the lands of processes, slams, and the dogs. I'm taking you through a trip into the ever exciting, ever dynamic, and sometimes controversial world of sport. I welcome aboard this ride this morning. Ayodeji Ajibo is my name. Absolute honor to be your host on the show. And to the switch of the back of the net, right about now, we'll get the show on the road. I will most definitely start with us coming through from the home front on the show. Just so you know, charity, they say charity begins from home. And some of the top stories to take a look at on the show this morning. I will start with the women's football, where the list for the Super Falcons was released yesterday by the head coach Justin Madugu. The list of the Eagles that will be playing in the pre-WAFCON friendly, the game that is going to be played against the game that is going to be played against the indomitable Lioness of Cameroon right there. Washington Spirit striker Gift Monday as well as Canada-based Ngozi Okobi Egene have earned record to the Super Falcons squad for the two-legged friendly against Cameroon ahead of the 2026 Women's African Cup of Nations in Morocco, while the Saudi-based forward Aziza Toshola was most definitely omitted in that list. Gift and Okobi Egene and Mexico-based defender Chidima Okeke recently completed a recovery from a long-term injury were included in 25-player squad for the friendlies in Yaoundé. Captain Rashida Tajibade, goalkeeper Chamaka Nadozie, as well as forwards Esther Okoronko and Chiwedu Eyezo among the notable names that were listed. There were room for new faces as well, with England-based goalkeeper Comfort Erabo, as well as Tanzania-based midfielder Precious Christopher receiving their maiden invitations. Oshola, who had featured during the qualifiers for the 2026 WAFCON against the Benin Republic, was not included this time around. But then it's been said that possibly she's going to be making the list for the team that will play when the WAFCON it commences later next month. Gift's last involvement with the Super Falcons came in October 24 when Nigeria faced Algeria in a two-legged friendly in Ikenne, Ogun State, and Lagos. She was later a surprise omission from the 2024 WAFCON squad despite her impressive club form. Throughout the absence, head coach Justin Madugu maintained that her omission was purely tactical, while the player remained positive about earning another opportunity. Full list of the players that were invited for the Super Falcons most definitely we have the players, just like I mentioned, Rashidat Ajibade was also part of the list. Midfielders Alimatu Ayinde, Christy Uchebe, Debra Abiodun, Jennifer Ikejini, Folashade Ijamilusi, all of whom most definitely retain the spot in the Super Falcons squad right there. And away from that, right now, a board member of the Nigerian Football Federation has confirmed that the Super Eagles coach Eric Chelle tabled fresh terms before the body, including an increase in his monthly salary from $50,000 to $130,000, which will also cover his assistants. However, everything remains subject to review and approval. Although Chile still has 1 year left on his current deal, but then he has become a topic of debate following the remarkable run that the Super Eagles had at the just concluded African Cup of Nations, where the team finished third. The Super Eagles went unbeaten in 7 matches, losing only the semi-final to host Morocco on penalties, scoring 14 goals at the tournament, Nigeria's highest tally in a single AFCON campaign. Despite having a strong backing to remain in charge, Chile has now reportedly attracted interest elsewhere on the continent, with Tunisia said to be offering the Franco-Malian tactician a salary in the region of $100,000 per month. According to football journalists, Chile reported 19 demands include a private SUV and also security detail, accommodation, a well-secured area in the country as part of the things he needs the NFF to do. And if you ask me, honestly, these are not too outrageous claims. I feel like these are things that, on the normal, should be made available for a coach right there. But then it's left to be seen whether or not this is going to be approved by by the Nigerian Football Federation. I was talking about Eric Sekuchele on the show this morning. The Nigerian Football Federation could be facing the second challenge in retaining the Super Eagles coach, following reports that the Angolan Football Federation have submitted an improved bid for his services. Chel, who is currently 48, is entering the final year of his 2-year contract. Don't forget that he signed the contract right in January 2025. Most definitely, his growing reputation on the continent has heightened interest in his availability, particularly after the successive high-profile tournament right there for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He's built a reputation for himself. It's now left to be seen what happens after this next couple of days will determine what happens, whether or not he's going to continue in charge of the Super Eagles or not. Away from that right now, quickly talking about football on the home front this morning. Normalcy has said to have returned to the Eyimba FC following weeks of internal power struggles that left the club operating under a cloud of uncertainty. The 9-time Nigerian Premier Football League champions had found themselves in an unusual situation, effectively functioning with 2 technical heads amid boardroom disagreement. That impasse has now been resolved with the confirmation and unveiling of Cameroonian coach Emmanuel Duch as the technical advisor and the restatement of Uche Okechukwu as the vice chairman of the club. Other stories coming through from Nigerian football. Kwara United have been handed a stadium ban, a 9 million naira fine and 3-point deduction by the Nigerian Premier Football League following crowd trouble that marred their scheduled match day 22 fixture against Rivers United in Ilorin on Wednesday. The sanctions come after a chaotic scenes erupted at the end of Wednesday's 1-0 draw at the Kwara State Stadium, where Rivers United scored a stoppage time equalizer through Boluwaji Sholu Made. The goal sparked disorder in the stands, with videos circulating online showing angry supporters pursuing match officials and also attacking Rivers United personnel. In its official communications yesterday, the league body said the Ilorin club had breached its regulatory framework on multiple counts and also brought the league into disrepute. The league further confirmed that supporters entered restricted areas and physically assaulted officials, describing their actions as conduct that brought the game into disrepute. As punishment, Kwara United were fined 2 million naira for inadequate security, 1 million naira for failing to control their supporters. Additional 2 million was imposed for assault on officials, 1 million for unsporting behavior, 1 million for holding match officials and Rivers United officials hostage after the match, 2 million naira as compensation for medical treatment and damages. And the communication further outlined competitive penalties, stating that 3 points and 3 goals will be removed from Kwara United accumulated tally as punishment for the assault. And in addition, the club will play their remaining home fixtures this season away from Ilorin, with the MKO Abiola Sports Arena in Abeokuta designated as a temporary venue. The league also directed Kwara United to identify their supporters involved for arrest and prosecution and granted the club 48 hours to appeal the sanctions. Still taking stories on the home front on the show this morning. The Nigerian Women Football League NWFL has fined Osunbase FC 2.5 million naira after their 2025-2026 Premiership match against FC Robo Queens failed to hold in Lagos. The match scheduled for Wednesday, 18 February 2026 at the Onikon Stadium was called off because Osunbase did not provide an alternative set of jerseys, despite a confirmed color clash with the home team. As a result, the officials awarded a walkover to FC Robo Queens. The league said Osunbase violated the rule by failing to use their second choice kit for an away match and by not honoring the fixture without a valid reason. The club was fined 1 million naira for the jersey breach and 1.5 million naira for failing to play the match. There's a bit of talks about Osunbase right there, and it's been said that the team only has one set of jerseys. This is not yet proved, but that is the word on the streets now, that Osunbase only have one set of jerseys for all of their matches in the Nigerian Women Football League right there. And away from that story right now, taking us away from the home front on the show this morning. This is still sports in a Jiffy on Empire Radio 102.1 FM. Don't forget, I'll be back later this evening between 5 p.m. down to 6 p.m. on the Sports Up Show, where we're doing 1 hour of banter, 1 hour of rage, 1 hour of views, reviews, and all of the major interviews. Quickly taking athletics talks on the show now. Two-time Olympian Samuel Ekpefan has called for greater institutional and financial support to unlock what he believes is Africa's vast untapped potential in winter sports after competing his campaign in cross-country skiing at the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics. The 34-year-old represented Nigeria as the country's sole athlete and flag bearer in Italy. Said his participation at the second Winter Games underlined both possibilities and also challenges facing athletes from the continent in other emerging athletes in winter sports, particularly those representing emerging nations. And away from that story right now, still taking more thoughts coming through from the other sport on the show this morning. This is still sports in a Jiffy on Empire Radio 102.1 FM. Former UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman has revealed a bold blueprint for his final chapter of his fighting career, announcing his intention to retire only after capturing both the welterweight and the middleweight world titles in what would rank among the most remarkable comeback stories in mixed martial arts history. Kamaru Usman, the Nigerian nightmare, laid out his ambitious two-division plan at a time when many had begun to write off his prospect of returning to the sports summit, having suffered back-to-back losses to Leon Edwards and his defeat to Khamzat Chimaev at middleweight on short notice. Questions about whether the 38-year-old best days were behind him had grown louder. But Usman silenced some of his doubt with the victory over Joaquin Buckley. And according to Clutch Point, the Nigerian has now set his sights on a target that would place him alongside Conor McGregor, Daniel Cormier, Amanda Nunes, and also Henry Cejudo as a simultaneous two-division UFC champion. However, the first obstacle is reclaiming the welterweight title, which is definitely a belt he had held for more than 3 years before Edwards dethroned him, and division has shifted considerably since then, with a dangerous and evolving landscape featuring undefeated contender Michael Morales and also rising names such as Ian Gary and also Carlos Prates, all competing for the same position. And away from that right now, quickly going straight into other sports on the show this morning. Carlos Alcaraz has beaten Valentin Roya 6-7-5 to move into the quarterfinals in Doha, continuing his unbeaten start to the season. Carlos Alcaraz looked in control early, taking the first set comfortably, and the match tightened in the second when he fell behind 2-5. But Alcaraz stayed composed, raised his level, and won the final 5 games to close it out on straight sets. The winner sends Alcaraz into his second Doha quarterfinal, keep his record perfect for the year 2026 at 9-0, and mass quarterfinals or better in 12 of his last 13 tournaments. After the match, Alcaraz acknowledged the milestone of reaching 55th ATP quarterfinal at just the age of 22, but made it clear his focus lies elsewhere. Still taking thoughts coming through from the ATP on the show this morning. Jakub Mesic preventing Yannick Sinner from reaching another final as he knocked the world number 2 out of the Qatar Open quarterfinals. The 6th seed from Czech Republic edged the first set, and although Sinner leveled, 20-year-old Mesic took the decider to win 7-6, 2-6, 6-3. That ended the run of 22 wins from 23 matches for Sinner, which is only defeat coming against Novak Djokovic in the Australian Open semi-final last month. The 24-year-old Italian reached 10 finals in 2005, winning the Australian Open and Wimbledon titles, but was offset by world number 16 Mesic in Thursday's first meet in Doha. He will now face unseeded Frenchman Autofuse, who beat Mesic's compatriot Jirel Leheka 6-3, 6-3 for the chance to play in the 4th ATP final and his second in 2026, having won last month's Auckland Open for his second career title. Like I mentioned, world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz will be meeting defending champion Andrei Rublev in the other semi-finals after both won their last 8 ties yesterday as well. In the WTA right now, after a string of withdrawals at the Dubai Tennis Championship, 4 of the top 7 seeds have reached the semi-finals. Ukraine's Elina Svitolina recovered from a set down to beat Croatia's Antonia Ruzic, who reached the last 8 after qualifying as a lucky loser and upsetting Britain's Emma Raducanu. The world number 9 won 3-6, 6-0, 6-3 on Thursday and will face American Kugugov for a place in the finals in the United Arab Emirates. The third seed needed just 69 minutes to go past Alexander Hiela, claiming a 6-0, 6-2 victory over the unseeded Filipino. Jessica Pegula needed 3 sets to overcome Denmark's Clara Thorsen, with the 4th seed coming through 6-3, 2-6, 6-4. She will now be facing fellow American Amanda Anisimova after the 2nd seed fought back to beat 5th seed and defending champion Mira Andreeva 2-6, 7-5, 7-6. Away from tennis this morning, straight into the world of Formula 1, where Formula 1 boss Stefano Domenicali says he's certain Max Verstappen will not quit the sport over its controversial and already malign new rules, which has urged France to stay calm about. Formula 1's brand new cars, which feature engines which are close to 50-50 splits between internal combustion and electrical power, have come under fire before a competitive lap has even been completed, with energy management and the regeneration of battery power set to be more important than ever. The sport's biggest names have already criticized the new formula. Verstappen likened the new cars to an all-electric series Formula E on steroids and called the new cars anti-racing. While two-time world champion Fernando Alonso also said the cars have become so dependent on energy management at certain points that Aston Martin's chief could now drive without any problem. As 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton said you need a university degree to understand it all. All of that before the season's opening race. The Australian Grand Prix definitely on March 8th. Domenicali has addressed driver concerns this week and insisted in a call with select media on Thursday that he has no doubt about Verstappen's commitment to staying longer term. Sports in the Jiffy on Impact Radio 102.1 FM. So much to talk about, so much to look into on the show this morning. Right about now, we'll go straight into list of matches that will be going down later this weekend. Of course, a couple of matches happened in the UEFA Europa League, the knockout round playoffs to first round of matches. I would like to Boyogna having a slim advantage, going back to their home ground in the next match day with a 1-0 lead over Bran. Dynamo Zagreb lost at home to KRC Genk, while Fenerbahce lost at home last night to Nottingham Forest 3-0. That one ended. PAOK lost at home to Celta Vigo 2-1. Stuttgart defeated Celtic 4-1, while Lille also lost at home to Real Star Belgrade 1-0. Ferencváros lost away from home against Ludogorets Razgrad 2-1, while Panathinaikos also played at a 2-2 draw against Victoria Plzeň. In the UEFA Conference League last night, Fiorentina were 3-0 winners, while Crystal Palace played out a 1-1 draw against Rimsky in their game. And away from that right now, in the UEFA Women's Champions League, Manchester United women have now made it straight into the next round. Don't forget that this team is barely 18 months old, and of course, they're already doing stuff of champions. This is their first appearance in the UEFA Women's Champions League, and they're through to the next round of the tournament. Matches that will be happening later today across Europe. A bit of matches happening in the English Championship and the top 5 European leagues. We'll be seeing matches happen in the Spanish La Liga, where Athletic Club will be hosting Elche at about 8 p.m. Nigerian time. German Bundesliga is going to be Mainz up against Hamburger SV. While Italian Serie A Sassuolo will be up against Hellas Verona later this evening. French Ligue 1, Brest will be up against Marseille at about 8:45 p.m. Nigerian time. Tomorrow, Saturday, a couple of matches happening in the English Premier League, where Aston Villa will be up against Leeds United, Brentford will be up against Brighton and Hove Albion, Chelsea will be hosting Burnley, West Ham United will be up against AFC Bournemouth, and Manchester City will be up against Newcastle United later in the evening. And in other top 5 European leagues for this weekend, we'll be seeing matches happen in the Spanish La Liga, where Real Sociedad will be up against Real Oviedo, Real Betis will be up against Rayo Vallecano, Osasuna will be up against Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid will be hosting Espanyol. In German Bundesliga, Bayern Munich will be hosting Eintracht Frankfurt, Köln will be hosting Hoffenheim, Union Berlin will be up against Bayern Leverkusen, Wolfsburg will be hosting Augsburg, RB Leipzig will be up against Borussia Dortmund, Italian Serie A, Juventus will be up against Como, Lecce will be up against Inter Milan, Cagliari will be hosting Lazio Roma later in the evening. While in the French Ligue 1, for Saturday, it's going to be Lens up against Monaco. Toulouse will be hosting Paris FC, while Paris Saint-Germain will be up against Metz right there. And Nigerian Premier Football for Saturday is going to be Warriors up against Barao FC, while Wake Tourist will be hosting Remo Stars at about 4 p.m. Nigerian time on Saturday. In the Turkey Super League, Galatasaray will travel to Konyaspor at about 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Sporting a Jiffy here on Impact Radio 102.1 FM. And that's time we take on the show for this morning. Many thanks to everyone who's been a part of the show. Sporting a Jiffy returns to your airing same time next week from 10 a.m. down to the flip side of 10. And we serve your sports up show 6 to 7 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays, 5 to 6 p.m. on Fridays, and 2 to 3 p.m. on Saturdays. We do 1 hour of banter, 1 hour of reach, 1 hour of views, reviews, and all of the interviews. Ayode Jajibe is signing out this morning. I always tell you to stay sporty, to stay active, to drink enough water and stay hydrated. Go out there and